the man of the hour, everybody, Mr. David Arquette.
How you doing? Thank you all for this weekend. I really appreciate you coming by and saying hi.
Well, thank you, David, for doing this and being here for all of us. We truly appreciate you and love you.
Thank you.
I had some questions. Oh, thank you. Seriously, let's give it up for David Arquette. So I had some questions to ask, but we're also going to open it up if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yes. One of the questions I wanted to ask you was, can you walk us through your initial thoughts when you first became involved in the screenplay franchise?
Yeah, when I first read the script, I was like, oh, it's so good. It was originally called Scary Movie. And I read the script, and they wanted me to look at one of the high school roles. And I read the script, and I was like, I really love the role of Dewey. So when I went in and met with them, they said, what part are you interested in? And I said, well, I really love the role of Dewey. I know it's not written, it was written more like this big jock, ex kind of captain of the football team kind of guy. And I was like, I don't know, I feel like I could bring something different to that role. And Wes was like, wow, that's very interesting. I didn't even consider that. Let's talk about it. And so, I don't know, that's how it happened. It was really a miracle that he, would have the faith to just kind of take a leap of faith. I said faith twice. But, and there's a faith out here somewhere, she's here today. But, yeah, so they gave me the opportunity. It was him and Marianne Magdalena, Kathy Conrad, the original producers, and Kevin Williamson.
And how did you prepare for the role of Dewey? And how is the character evolved in your opinion over the years?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I love the aspect of a person of authority getting no respect. Really, that to me was like the funniest quality about it. So to me, Dewey was always like, he really loved Clint Eastwood. Like, he's the epitome of like a tough man. So he'd always try to be kind of Clint Eastwood-like, but he just wasn't. So when things would happen, he'd be like, I don't know. So that dichotomy is really where I found the humor in him, and that's where I think Wes also saw a lot of him in the role of Dewey. He had his sense of humor, his sort of lighter side, his sillier side, his romantic side. So he'd always throw me little like jokes. There was the one scene where I'm with the sheriff and I'm eating ice cream and he's smoking a cigarette. I didn't know I was gonna have an ice cream in that scene. Even if it was written, for some reason I just didn't know, so they like give me this ice cream and I was like, oh, I love ice cream. So and then he's gonna be smoking, Wes was like, he's gonna be smoking a cigarette, so every time he smokes a cigarette, you're gonna lick the ice cream, and then when he puts the cigarette out, you're gonna step on the ice cream. I said, really? Do you want me to do that? Because we were still finding the sort of levels of sort of reality and humor, and so I was like, sure, I'll try it, sounds fun. So we did it, and it was things like that. And there's the one scene where I say, do you know what constellation that is up there? She says, no, what is it? And I said, I don't know, that's why I asked you. That was a complete Wes Craven line as well. So there were little things he'd throw in there. There's also the scene where we jump out of the oncoming car and we roll. And she says, is that what you're looking for? And then Wes says, I want you to look in her eyes and say, my whole life. As if you've been looking for a woman like this your whole life. And I was like, all right, Wes, just with all the romance I could, all that. It was just such a sweet thing. Hey, excuse me.
Thank you for that. And aside from Dewey, what role has the most profound impact on you personally and professionally?
Aside from, I mean, Dewey's really been the most influential role of my career. I mean, for one, I met my ex-wife on that, and we have a daughter, Coco, who's now 19. So yeah, so that really has had such a huge impact on my life in general, just that experience. So aside from that, I did a film called Dream with the Fishes I actually drove from the set of Scream to the set of Dream with the Fishes. I had bought a car up in Santa Rosa, California, this vintage, I think it was a Riviera, and I packed it with fireworks. For some reason I had fireworks, because we were having fun up on the Scream set, and I had fireworks, all kinds of stuff. I had a go-kart, lava lamps, all this stuff in my car. But I drove it directly to the set of Dream with the Fishes and started the movie like 3 days after Scream. And it's a completely different kind of film. It was based on a true story of a person who's suicidal, my character, and the guy who talks him out of jumping off this bridge, you later find out is dying of an incurable disease. So then they go on a sort of bucket list adventure to just sort of fulfill some of his final, things that he wants to do before he dies. And it's just a powerful film. It was with an actor named Brad Hunt, who turned out to be one of my dearest friends. It was just a really powerful, meaningful film personally.
I love that. I'll definitely be checking that out. I'm sure they all will.
It's hard to find, but it's a really powerful one.
Thank you. I was wondering, before you went to work with Wes, did your sister have any advice for you getting into it?
No, it's so strange. I mean, although we're all in the same business, I sometimes will call them for advice, or if I'm having trouble in something. I called my sister after a show I did recently, and I'd had a really hard time on the first day of set. I was really nervous. I mean, after even being in the business for 30 years, I still get nervous sometimes. And I had this big monologue, and I was working with these really wonderful actresses or actors, and I just got super nervous, and I called my sister Patricia. I was like, God, I got so nervous today. And she was like, yeah, I get nervous too. It's just, you have to, the first few days of a character, you kind of have to find the character. You have to find what is real about them, what connects you to the project, and what of your past experiences you can kind of bring. So there's a lot of learning. So if they really kind of give you a lot of your big stuff on the first day, it's kind of tough. If you're directing something, I wouldn't encourage the director to do that, because it's kind of hard on an actor. You really end up like finding it on camera, which isn't the best thing. But there was this moment in that scene, I can't even remember the name. I forgot the name of the show. It was recently on Peacock. It was really great. But I had I'd studied this role and been studying my stuff, and it was just a big long paragraphs and monologues of stuff. But within the story, I was essentially telling my grown-up daughter at the time, in the moment, in the scene, I was trying to get her mother was trying to get me to sign the papers to the divorce. So for some reason, like, I turned to my daughter in the scene and just started crying, like, really emotional, because it occurred to me that she's just hearing this for the first time. Hi, my family's here. Hi, my wife Christina, my
big round of applause.
Sons, Charlie and Gus. Hi. And so this scene actually sort of reminded me of my daughter Coco. So yeah, I got emotional.
That's awesome.
We had to do another take.
I love it. So, what challenges did you face? And I want to get asked a question about a couple of things that I love that you've done with wrestling, in regards to wrestling. What challenges did you face while balancing acting in your professional wrestling career?
Well, it was wild because when I got the script to Ready to Rumble, I'd been a fan of wrestling as a kid, and so when I was reading the script, I got to like page 15, and it said Macho Man Randy Savage, and I called my agent up. I said, "Is Macho Man Randy Savage really going to be in this movie?" And they're like, "Yeah, they got him. They have the whole group of WCW." And I was like, "I'll do it. That's incredible." And I was just a huge fan of Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth. If you haven't seen, we did a documentary called "You Cannot Kill David Arquette." It's it was based on that experience, because to promote the film Ready to Rumble, WCW made me the heavyweight champion of the world. But I had saw, like, when they first told me about it, because to promote it, I just was going on, just went on, and Diamond Dallas Page put me in a diamond cutter, and that was supposed to be it. It was just that little one appearance to promote it, but it got a lot of exposure, and WCW needed exposure at that time because they were kind of losing the Monday Night Wars at that point. So they said, "Listen, if you'll stay on till the next pay-per-view, we'll make you the champion." And I was like, well, that's a terrible idea. You can't do that. And they said, "No, it'll be good. We'll get a lot of press." And I said, "Well, okay." It would kind of be like my dream as a kid, or any fan's dream, to like hold up the belt and be the champion. So I thought that's sort of what the response would be. But since I was an actor, and so it didn't get that response. Fans hated it, and they hated it for 25 years. And so
Well, they don't hate it now, trust me. Let's give them another, come on, the champ here.
So then we did this wrestling documentary to sort of address that, to really figure out what is wrestling, what's it about. You know, everyone says wrestling's fake, so like, how fake is it? We really wanted to sort of push it to the limit.
And you did. That was a great documentary. If you haven't checked that out, watch it. It's fantastic. And it does
especially if you like gore.
Can you share a memorable behind-the-scenes moment on the set of any Scream movies?
Yeah, I mean, the first Scream was so interesting because we were all new to it. We were working with Wes Craven for the first time. All of us, you know, except for a couple of the cast members, were kind of at the start of our careers. It was just really exciting and fun. Everyone hung out in my room, and I had lava lamps and all these weird trinkets, blacklight posters, and we'd watch movies, and you'd just always go out. I don't know, it's just a really bonding experience. I once, they were filming the final sequence, that scene at Stu's house, for like 3 weeks or 4 weeks or something. So they were up there a lot, and I'd go up there with a Super 8 camera, and I filmed behind the scenes a little bit. But then I snuck into the wardrobe trailer once, and I put on Gale Weathers' costume under a trench coat. You can't do this nowadays, but then I went around the set, and I was like flashing people in her like lime green costume. That's so silly behind the scenes.
That was awesome, thank you. Now, I want to open it up to people to ask questions, but I want to ask one more because it's one of my absolute favorites of all time. Airheads.
Yes.
Can you share something from Airheads? I absolutely love you in that too.
Oh, thank you. It was such an amazing film to be a part of. We shot it at Fox. we were there. I don't know. It was just so like such a great group of comedic talents, and they were all just kind of at the top of their game, and just everybody brought a different sort of character to the table, and it was just a lot of fun. I remember I was really like. Chris Farley only worked one day, and I got to meet him, and we kind of had this scene. And, you know, Chris Farley's pretty over the top, but then it was my final scene, and I wanted to get back into the place after I had escaped. So I ended up like being bigger than Chris Farley. It was hard to do, but it was a really fun film to be a part of.
Thank you for it. It's great fun.
Thank you.
Yes, if you guys want to ask questions, please come up to the mic here.
Hi. I was hoping you could talk about Eight-Legged Freaks and how it was interacting with giant spiders that didn't exist.
Yeah. Well, they existed for me. They're real to me. No, it was a really fun movie to be a part of. They were sort of struggling with the script right up to the end. They kind of were trying to figure out some kind of, I don't know, thing. So they came up with like me having a goatee, like was some weird thing. Like I don't know, they just made a bunch of jokes about this goatee. But the thing about the goatee is that I was going to have it for half of the film, and half of the film I wouldn't. So I couldn't have a real one, so they'd have to glue one on. And I just hate having glue on my face like that for some reason. I have sensitive skin. But it just also didn't make sense to me that all these jokes were about a goatee. I didn't get it. But that's what they settled on. I was trying to give them all kinds of suggestions. But, you know, working with any kind of CGI, when it's not really there, you always have to just use your imagination and really kind of sell it. You know, a lot of the times it's a tennis ball on a stick or something like that. But one of my favorite things that I learned there was to make the webs, because they had to have webs all over the place, especially in these tunnels. They would use a hot glue gun and a blow dryer. And they would I'd never known that that's how they make those kind of spider webs. And it was like, wow, it was so interesting to me. I don't know if that's interesting to you, but it was fun. I mean, you know, Dean Devlin was one of the producers on that. He was really talented. He was behind Independence Day. And his partner, the director of Independence Day, I forgot his name at this moment.
Roland Emmerich?
Yeah, Roland Emmerich. He was also on the set quite a bit because he was a producer as well. So they brought a lot of this sort of high budget elements to it. Like they had mist, like they would do all this mist. So they'd have these guys with fog machines like running around before any scene would start in the deep background, and these tubes of smoke machines hidden. And they do really cool, practical effects where, you know, something really would, pull down and smash something, but then they'd add the CGI. So just working in tandem with, you know, practical effects and CGI really made that whole thing kind of look much more expensive than it was.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, David.
Hi.
Hey, I was hoping you could clear up something for me. I
Yes.
heard once that Matthew Lillard was going to reprise his role as Stu in Scream 3. There was an original script for it, but after the Columbine massacre, they had to rewrite it and change it up a bit. Could you clarify if that's true or not?
That's what I've heard too, and I've only heard it through Matthew and through sort of conventions we've gone to. You know, they always have been really secretive to the script, even with us.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't give us the end of the scripts. They only kind of give you your parts.
Right.
So, and then a lot of the time Scream 2, 3, 4, especially 3 and 4, we were getting script pages like daily, changes, like it would change the whole scene, change who the murderers were and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I think the story was that Matthew's character Stu was in an insane asylum, and he was sort of the puppet master behind all these high school kids trying to pull this off. That's the story, at least. So then when Columbine happened, they couldn't have it even sort of any bit related to high school or even the kids. So I think that's what made Scream 3 take place in Hollywood, be a sort of film within a film thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And to add to that for Scream 3, if I could ask, because he just passed away, what was it like working with Roger Corman?
Oh man. I mean, I don't, did I have a scene with him?
You didn't, but I was wondering if maybe...
Yeah, I'm not sure. It was sort of this weird blur, because it was the only film that we had done, Scream film that we had done, that took place in Los Angeles. So it really kind of was a different experience. Everyone wasn't hanging out as much. You were only in the kind of scenes that you were in, and they were all kind of splintered. We made a joke at one point, me and Courtney, we were like, we're tied up to this chair, you know, it's feeling very Scooby-Doo. And that was even before Matthew had done the Scooby-Doo movies, or any Scooby-Doo movies were made. We're just like, I don't know, there's something about all this that seems very Scooby-Doo. But yeah, there was some weird stuff. I mean, Jay and Silent Bob are in that. You know, it just, there were these weird random moments where you go and show up and have this scene with, you know, Jay and Silent Bob out of left field.
Thank you.
I was hoping you could talk a little bit about transitioning into directing. And
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if Tripper was like a passion project or if it was just a, hey, they're gonna let me direct.
No, it was definitely a passion project. It's the most expensive education I ever had. It grossed $35,000 at the box office, which is complete, it may be the world's worst opening weekend. But yeah, it was a passion project. I'd written it with a guy named Joe Harris, amazing writer out of New York. And Wes Craven was really helpful. He read the script, he gave me notes on it.